everyone, and welcome back to our cost-conscious data management series. We're going to be doing the second part in our cloud section today, and this is on perfecting cloud economics. I am Allison Foster, and I lead marketing for DataSource and EXL Analytics. And with me today is Dave Crowley. He is our VP of Delivery at EXL, and Eric Linneman, our Cloud Competency Director. So great to have you with us again. It's good to see you both, at least over Zoom here. So I will just jump right in. Can you tell everyone a little bit about some of the differences in costing traditional versus the cloud-based data management?
That's a great question, Allison. So if we look at traditional IT, we're always fighting that limits of what we've got available. Resources are scarce. We've actually had a customer that had to shut down access on a critical system so they could do month-end closing, affecting the overall business and the ability of them to see the data. And so it's the economics of scarcity. We flip that over in the cloud to the economics of opportunity because we've got dynamically available resources. We can scale them up as needed. We can scale out. We can do what we need. We can evolve that model to one where we align with really business value, and are we driving that to get more value out of the solution rather than trying to pull every last bit out of what we've already invested. Now, keep in mind the cost models on the cloud, they evolve quickly, and so as we put these solutions together for our customers, we're always looking to drive business value and align with where the vendors are going from their cost basis and really align from a business opportunity perspective.
I'll add a little bit if I could. In the old world, when we had a project or a solution we wanted to create, the first step was, kind of planning for hardware and software. And if I needed a new server, it might be 6 or 8 weeks to get it ordered once it was approved, and I might get it in and it might have a broken NIC card, and that can tack on more time. So you had this sort of lead time for any project and potential risk for any project around just the hardware that it's sat on. And, what we're seeing now is a much reduced barrier to entry to get a program or solution up and running. It might be a couple days or even a couple hours if you have scripting enabled to get a sandbox or development environment going. So organizations can now look at spinning up that, something as a proof of concept very quickly, very low cost, and then they can fail fast or they can succeed fast and expand it. And that expansion is almost a trivial thing. So we're really looking at a behavioral shift with a lot of our clients to experiment more. In times of disruption, that's a huge advantage, right? We can test things out and get going faster. So provisioning at lower cost and lower timeline, I would say, is a gigantic benefit and difference from a costing standpoint with cloud.
Great, thank you. And could you tell me, some of the unique capabilities that would benefit an organization from this?
Sure. We look at the cloud and we talk about Elastic Cloud and the ability to provide resources as needed to align with really the consumption model. Not only do we do that both on a compute standpoint, but we can also do that for high availability, disaster recovery, and just workload management. But we also, in the costing on the cloud, there's a couple of different models that come into play. We've got the ability to lower costs through longer term reservations. We've got the ability to scale the compute side or the consumption side of what we're using to align really with the business value. So we're right sizing the IT resources. And then we look at things like storage, which has a different cost model, and architecturally, we can use that model to drive costs down over time. Auto archiving data, auto management of availability, and things of that nature. So it changes the model from trying to keep the lights on to really, what are we doing optimally to drive value with our spend in the cloud?
Yeah, I'd add a couple things too. The vendors are investing significant amounts of money in capabilities like compliance and scalability and reliability, disaster recovery. So key components that are difficult for a data center type organization in a company to take on are being done by these companies. Google, Azure, AWS, they're all building these kind of capabilities. For example, in the Azure world, there's something called blueprints, and there's a whole series of blueprints around ISO 9000, around HIPAA, around GDPR. And so it's a matter of enabling that blueprint for a solution, and now your security kind of aligns to what's required automatically. So that's one, factor to consider, is something that might be a very large investment for a small organization is actually just part of the solution on the cloud platforms. So another one, another key consideration I think that's interesting is, organization enables and migrates to the cloud. We have now have this shift from technical roles that are keeping the infrastructure running, shifting more towards focus on the company capabilities, the company core competencies. So there is this people part of the equation, which is how do I reprovision folks to focus on what matters to the company and something that isn't just enabling. So that's what I would put in. Allison?
Thank you very much. Now, what about more of an executive perspective for the less technical folks like me?
Sure, really the benefit is what we refer to as speed to value. How quickly can we get a solution in place, align that really with what the business is trying to use, and then from there, are we aligning scalability, operations, availability, all of those things really to align directly with the business needs. And on the flip side of that is, how can we leverage what's been spent to expand the use of that data and those systems, both internal and external? So we're driving additional value over time from the spend that's been made, but really looking to accelerate that speed to value. And then the other side of it is, from an executive standpoint, you now have detailed analysis and tools available to help you understand those costs. So if you're looking to do a chargeback model, we've got that availability built in by nature. Whereas traditionally, how much does it cost to have a server and we're running 10 apps on a database, who pays for what? Now we get that kind of detail and we can have that available. And we have that available natively with the architecture and the tools that are there.
Great point, Eric. I would probably, position this as more of a case study. A recent client of ours, we were, brought in to support, migration to the cloud of a lot of their data assets. And when we got to the marketing organization, we realized that there were some gaps around GDPR and compliance around it. And it was something that, as we were moving things to the cloud, there's an acute focus on how do we secure data, how do we remain in compliance. So it was a big red flag, and as we brought in our experts, our cloud architects to examine the solution, in this case, Azure blueprints were a great way to solve the problem. So we were concerned that was going to be a big overrun on the project, but as we looked at it, it actually was a delta of about 2 weeks of one person to implement this, which was a great win. Basically, we were able to get this department for this client into GDPR compliance within 2 weeks of one person. speed to value. So the value in this case being, risk reduction, and the speed being 2 weeks of one person, is a great example of how, how the cloud changes, what we can do and how fast we can do it. And also shows us how IT, with our support, was able to engage more closely with the business and pull in this marketing organization, which had previously been sort of siloed in their own world. Now IT is able to provide them the capability of being GDPR compliant. So great benefits all around.
Great, thank you both. Just as a quick summary, and feel free to jump in if I'm missing anything here, but I feel like the key takeaways from this session are really changing your mindset from cost to value when thinking about the cloud, understanding that costs are not simple, and understanding that model in order to avoid future surprises down the road, which no one likes. Really understanding too that the cost models are going to evolve in the cloud pretty frequently, and adapting your IT practices and your people to the economics of the cloud and ensuring that success down the road too. So anything I missed there?
I think that's good.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. It was great to see you again, and for anyone watching, we hope you enjoyed it. If you would like any more information on this topic, we do have a downloadable piece of content. If you click the link below, you can access that. And again, feel free to reach out to any of us for additional questions. There's a contact us button on the website. We'd all be happy to talk to you and answer any questions that you might have. And in the meantime, keep an eye out for our next video, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.